Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Mr. Fix-It channel. Well, I've done it again. I picked up a couple old Polaris 400s. They're both piles. I think this engine right here might run. The engine in that one I think is toast, but let's see if I can get one of these two piles running. Stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall.
Alright, so I kind of stacked all the parts onto these two quads to kind of assess and see what I got here. And the four-wheel drive is got a blown up engine, and it's missing the jack shaft, and there's a few things missing on that one. The two-wheel drive, the engine seems to be good. It rotates, feels like it has compression. And looks like it's mostly, well, it's more so complete, probably for the fact that it's a two-wheel drive. I want to get one of these two running. I'd like to get them both running, but I don't know what's inside that engine. It turns a little bit and then just stops when you go either way. Sounds like it's got a broken piston, so that engine's possibly completely wasted. I think I'm going to fix this one, and basically for the simple fact that it looks better than that one. The plastics are all faded, the seat's all ripped, and tires, this thing has better tires on it. And so I'm going to pull this one in the shop. The motor is almost completely removed from this. I think they were going to pull the motor out of this and put it in that one. Alright, so first impressions, not too bad. It definitely is dirty. It's definitely been sitting outside for a while. As far as missing parts, I'm missing the little cover that goes over the brake. Looks like I have a pull start cover, but the handle is missing. Missing the two side covers. Looks like I got the inner belt drive cover. There's an outer belt drive cover. This one has a gas tank in it, whereas the 4x4 did not have a gas tank. Missing the on-off valve. Looks like we have an engine mount plate sitting here. There's no battery, there's no air cleaner box. The overflow reservoir is actually still on there, although it's been painted. I don't know if it leaks. There is an engine in there. I have the exhaust pipes sitting up there. There's a carburetor, so that's good. So it's mostly here. The brakes do work. It's missing the speedometer and the cable. Looks like I got a spider living in there. Hopefully he's not too angry at me. None of the racks are bolted down. All that stuff was taken off of it. It's missing the door back here. Tail light's there, although it's kind of broken. Okay, there's the mid pipe. Looks like we got a radiator in it. That's good. Old tank's still in it. That's good. The carburetor's not stuck. Okay, so it's basically going to be getting the engine mounted back into the frame, get everything hooked back up to it, get a battery installed in there, need to evict that spider, some hand grips, and a thorough pressure washing, which I'm probably going to do once I get the plastics and everything, take those all off, and I'm probably going to back it out there and, you know, make it clean. I do believe the shifter on both of these are froze up, and they're both missing the top half of the shifter knob. So hopefully the transmission's still good. Alright, so bringing a pile like this back to life it can go one of two ways. It can be fairly straightforward and cheap, but usually it's pretty complicated and expensive. So hopefully the engine still runs and I don't have to tear it apart, but you never know with a machine this old, been sitting outside this long, especially with the carburetor unbolted. Yeah, let's get into this one. Yeah, that's looking better already. Okay. Alright, well, it's not perfect, but it is better. This side of the bumper is bent in right here a little bit. That's going to be a lot harder for one to straighten, although that one might have a nice straight bumper on it. Might be able to take parts from that one to make this one more complete and look better. It's a shame I don't have this door. That kind of sucks. But there's one on that one, but it is gray, so I don't know. All right, now that I'm done screwing around with that, let's go ahead and see if we can get this engine out. So I'm going to start with taking the pulley off. Let's see, I need a 5/8 socket for the bolt. As you can see, someone's already attempted to pull this engine out, and I'd say they probably couldn't get it out of there because the clutch is still, you know, attached to the motor. And you need a special tool for this. Hopefully this thing plays nice. Yep, came right off. Ooh, that shaft is rusted. Need to clean that up a little bit. What we got? Got the ground wire, that's got to come off. Got to take the oil line off, throttle cable, all this stuff over here has got to come off, and yank this engine out. Now I get these projects, and when I get them, I don't pay a lot of money for them. I try to get them for almost nothing, because you just never know what you're going to get into. It can end up being a huge money pit, and I'm not into restoring money pits. So we'll undo the throttle cable on the carburetor, which is as easy as pulling this cap off. Hopefully this carburetor is still good. Alright, so I see the spider down in there. I don't know if I can zoom in on it or not. No, it's not going to let me focus. But he's a pretty dandy sized spider down in there. So I gotta undo the wiring that goes to the stator. Alright, let's try to pull this motor out. See what else I forgot to disconnect here. Okay, so I undid the starter wire, and I forgot the air ducting hose clamps to the bottom of the motor down there. So I think that's everything. See if we can pull this motor out now. So interesting, when I pop this boot off for this air duct, it's full of two-stroke oil. How does that happen? That's interesting. Made a huge mess on my floor. I can't work on anything and not make a huge mess. Okay, well the engine's out. I'm going to take that thing over to the bench. We'll get into it here in a minute. But what I want to do next is I want to take this thing out and pressure wash it. The reason why I wanted to remove the engine to do that is, for one, it was already mostly detached from the frame, and two, it wasn't sealed, so I didn't want to pressure wash a bunch of the inside of the engine. So I'm going to roll this thing out here, pressure wash this thing down real good, and then we'll continue. Alright, now that all these parts are cleaned up, I need to focus my attention on the engine. Now looking at it, I don't see any holes in the case. Nothing's been repaired with JB Weld. It rotates. There is some compression, but it's completely disgusting. So I think I'm gonna have to pressure wash this too. But I need to seal up the intake. I need to seal up the exhaust. I want to take this cable off of here. So yeah, I really need to wash this engine down. Hopefully I don't have to tear into it, but we'll see. So let me get this cable out of here. Let's just pop these 3 bolts off and undo the cable from the pump inside here. maybe take this starter wire off of it. Pretty sure the starter's no good because it's a Polaris 400, so yeah. Alright, let me prep this. I'm gonna go pressure wash this, and then we'll come back and hopefully this engine's good. Another thing, the dipstick for the counterbalance is gone, and I think I saw it somewhere. Let me go look. This is the dipstick, so I'll have to figure out something here. I don't think the other engine has a dipstick in it either, or I think it's broke off, so let me go look at that. Yeah, this one looks like it's broke off or missing, and they got just something plugged in a hole. I'm sorry you can't see it, but yeah, so I need a dipstick. So these are kind of hard to find. I'll have to look on eBay, see if I can find a dipstick. But either way, this engine's going to need to be cleaned because I don't even want to touch it. It's so disgusting. Okay, in case you're wondering, that hole and thread is an M14 by 2. So I can use this to plug up that hole, and then later I'm going to make the dipstick out of this because I can get this right now, and finding a dipstick on the internet will take a while. So M14 2mm pitch thread. Alright, I got this ball of grease cleaned up. It looks better. So I need to get this intake boot off of here because there's some debris down in there. That I want to have a look at this side of the piston. I did look in the exhaust side, and there's a little bit of scoring in there, nothing too hateful, but I just want to get this out, clean it off, and have a look inside this side here. Alright, well, I don't see any corrosion down in the crank. Looks well oiled in there. There is some scoring. So there's some scoring in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but down inside the crank looks good. Everything looks clean in there, so that's a plus. Intake side of the piston looks okay. Just feeling for any rod play. I don't feel any rod play, so I think we have a good engine. Awesome. So it's just a matter of making another dipstick and putting this thing all back together, sticking it back on the frame, see if it'll run. But next I need to clean out this intake boot because it is quite disgusting inside there. Alright, next I want to focus my attention on this carburetor. Hopefully this thing is still in good shape. You never know until you crack one of these things open. Alright, it's clean in there. Good deal. Okay, so I think I'm going to send this through the ultrasonic cleaner, and while that's cooking, I got a few other things to do, so let me come back when this thing's all cleaned up. So even though the inside of this carburetor looked clean and the jets looked clear, look what was on the emulsion tube. So if you don't take this out, you could be missing something. So always make sure you take out the emulsion tube, clean that out, and the hole that it goes in. Alright, got the carburetor all cleaned up. It's looking really good. Got all the jets clean. I'm going to disassemble the starter, get it cleaned up, check the brushes, make sure the starter's still good, which I'm actually very surprised that it still spins. So it probably didn't get water in it. And just looking at this four-wheeler all together, I don't think it ever got washed, and it was probably never submerged. So that being said, the starter may still be good. So I'll disassemble that, it'll go in the bath, get that all cleaned up, get this carburetor reassembled, and then start looking at maybe putting the engine back in the frame here real soon. Before I get too carried away, I need to mark the starter. They do have marks on them, but sometimes they can be kind of hard to find. So I'm just going to scratch some marks in here. This just makes the reassembly process a lot easier. It's looking good in there. There's no rust on these screws. It's maybe the first time I've seen one of these starters that aren't completely destroyed from water damage. The brush is either wore out or it's stuck, one of the two, but it's clean in here. Okay, so the brush is completely wore down, looks like. Okay, I don't think this is a factory starter. It's aftermarket, so it, you know, that says a lot. It's already been replaced once, at least once. And really all it needs is a brush set. Alright, well, I don't think there's any real reason in cleaning this starter, unless I want to rebuild it. I think I might have a starter. I'll have to look. I don't know if I mean, I go through starters so much, I don't think I have a good starter sitting around. The Bendix, that's in good shape, that's usable. I mean, at the very least it needs the starter brush. It's a shame you can't buy just this brush. Okay, well anyway, I'm gonna get that carburetor put back together. I'll look for a starter and we'll go from there. Alright, so I decided to clean this starter up, and looking at the brushes, I think there's just enough brush left on here that this thing might run. I'm just going to put it back together. We'll see if the starter works. Alright, now I need a battery to test this with. Do I have a good battery somewhere? Hold on. Oh, it actually runs. Okay, I don't know how long it'll run, but it's running now, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the motor and hope for the best. Alright, for my next trick, I'm going to turn this rusty old piece of round bar into a dipstick. So critical measurement is from this mating surface to the end of this stick. That's all I really need to know. And then however much threads stick into the motor and whatever I want out here to grab onto to unscrew it. So chuck this in the lathe, and if I'm good enough with this thing, I will be able to do this all in one shot. So here we go. Alright, here it is, the finished dipstick. I kind of put a hexagon on that so you can grab that with a socket if it ever gets kind of stuck in there. It's hard to see now, but... And I oil quenched it to help give it some rust resistance, and might slightly harden the outside of this ever so slightly. You might be asking yourself, why didn't I just modify this bolt that I bought? Well, what's the fun in that? So we'll thread this in here, and now this engine has a dipstick. There, that's done. Alright, I wanted to go ahead and add the balance shaft oil. What we need is 100 cc's, 10W30, can be any kind of motor oil, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be specific, as long as it's 1030. And 100 cc's are about 4 ounces. And we'll dump this in. Alright, that oil's in. I think the only thing left here on the motor is to get the pull start cover on there. A little rust on that alignment pin, I want to clean that off. And like I said, I don't have a rope and a pull handle, so that'll be something I have to get here in the future, but I do have a working electric starter, so we'll just throw the side cover on this and we'll throw this back in the frame. I got to mount this motor mount plate back on here, so I need a few bolts for that, so I got to dig for those, and we're getting real close to starting this thing up, see if this engine runs. Let's stuff that engine in there and start hooking things up. Alright, so where am I on this so far? Got the engine completely installed. I have the battery installed. I drained the coolant, so let me show you the coolant. So that looks like there's oil mixed in it. So possibly a head gasket, I'm not sure. So I filled up the cooling system with water. I put a little bit of dish liquid in there, just dish soap, to hopefully break up any oil that's in there, and if I have any leaks, it's just going to be water. I'm not going to waste coolant. Got the exhaust mounted. It did not have the springs for the exhaust, so I had to go get hardware store springs. But they seem to work okay. I don't have a pull cord, but I do have electric start. So I got a little bit of premix. Carburetor's primed. I think it's time to see if this thing will start. So let me stick you guys on the tripod and we'll crank this thing over, see what happens. Okay, it looks like a brand new spark plug was in there, so don't have to worry about that. Hopefully everything's going to work, like the CDI box and the coil. So there's only one way to find out. I noticed the only light that I got comes on is the oil tank light, which is empty. Choke. This thing's liable to smoke if it fires up. It's going to smoke pretty bad, so here we go. Okay, I'll get my safety glasses on in case something explodes here. Hey, look at that! I'm going to have to hold the throttle. I'm going to turn the idle up just a little bit, if it will. Okay, I'll just hold the throttle. So I think because of the way this rev limiter works, it's killing the engine when I let go of the throttle, so I'm going to have to adjust the throttle a little bit. This is different than the 94 model, because this is a 95 model. It's right there. Sounds good. I'm gonna let it sit here and warm up for a minute. smoky because of all the oil that was in the crankcase. So it's been running now about maybe 3 minutes. I went ahead and mixed up some more gas, got it hanging there. You guys can't really see much of anything, but I'm gonna rev this thing up now. It should be warmed up enough. Try to clear some of this smoke out. I'm gonna let this run for a little bit. I'll come back when the smoke clears up because I'm gonna get asphyxiated if I don't. Runs pretty good. So the engine does run. That's good news. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I put some oil in the oil tank. I'm going to bleed the oil injector and try to get that system working. And if that system works, then I'll try to run it off of straight gas and using the oil injection pump. So that's next. I gotta get in there. I gotta take that cover back off because I don't know, I put the cover back on for whatever reason. I gotta take it off there. I gotta get in there and bleed that oil pump. So let's do that. This was a lot easier to access before I put the exhaust on, and when the engine was still cold, you know. Yeah, when you're reviving things like this, you really don't know, you know, what you're going to get into. You know, I tried to see what all was here and what all was missing when I purchased these two quads, and for the most part they were all there, missing a few critical pieces here and there, but for the money I paid for them, I mean, it was worth it just for the parts. And I can only assume that this engine was good because they were going to take this engine off and put it on that four-wheel drive, and it was already mostly disassembled and ready to pull out. So, you know, I had hopes that this engine was going to be a good engine. I did notice that some of the lights in the dash aren't working. The only one I noticed that was working was the high beam indicator and the oil light. So I tested the over temp light, you know, by grounding that onto the engine, and that light didn't come on. And I tested the reverse light by hitting the override. It usually brings the reverse on, and that light didn't come on. And I didn't see a neutral light either. I don't know if the transmission works. This shaft is quite rusty. I'll have to clean that shaft up. So there's still quite a bit of work to do here, but I do want to kind of get this oil pump working because I like the oil pump. I know a lot of you guys are afraid of them, and you really don't need to be. They're pretty reliable. So right now I'm just getting to that bleed screw inside here, and it's really hard to get to with the engine in the frame. Oh, they put this thing in a horrible location. But if you go buy one of these that's been broke down and tore apart, you know, basket case, do the best you can to see if everything's there, because some of these parts can be quite expensive to buy, you know, to source on the internet. The aftermarket doesn't cover everything. Like some of the plastic pieces you'll have to get, you know, old stock. All right, I got the oil flowing out of the bleeder. Okay, that looks like it's bled out. But now that I got that bled out, I'm going to pop the oil line off of the check valve, and I'm going to start it back up. I'm going to wait for oil to start pumping out of that line. See the oil trickling up through the line? Real slow. See that bubble moving. Once all that air gets bled out, there's another bubble there. It'll start coming out up here. Then that's bled out and working. Alright, I got oil pumping out of the line. Plug that in to the check valve. And that should be working now. Alright, I got straight gas in there. I had that turned off. That's about to run empty. Turn that on. that should be straight gas going in. We're looking for smoke coming out of the exhaust. Still got smoke coming out the tailpipe. Think the injection system's working. Let me grab my voltmeter to see if the battery's charging. Yep, 13.8 at idle. It's good, it's charging good and it's not overcharging. All that works good. That's what I've been waiting on. It started to get hot. I was getting a little worried there for a minute. Alright, so the fan works. Okay, now I can continue. I feel more comfortable. Start putting this thing back together. There was no air box for either one of these two quads. So I do have another one, although it's got a bit of an issue there. I don't know if it caught on fire at some point or if it got too hot because of the exhaust, but maybe I can fix that. I have an air filter on the way, so hopefully I can get this thing to be a nice complete quad. I'm missing, probably said this before, I've been missing that little cover. It goes over the brake, but I think that's about it. I need to replace the bulbs in the dash and a set of hand grips. The seat's not in terrible condition. It's stained and old, but it's not torn. There's this issue here. So there's a little bit left. A lot of times bringing these things back to life, you run into things, you know, that you can't really prepare for. A lot of times it's, you know, just a little tedious stuff like this shaft, the threads in here, you know, insects got in there and made a little nest, and the threads are all corroded, so you gotta run, you know, taps through them, dives through stuff. There's a lot of things, you know, that you can't really think of, or you might think of but didn't realize how much of it's going to be, so on and so forth. So you get a basket case project like this that's been sitting out in the weather for quite some time. Consider it's going to take a lot longer to put things together. You know, like all the hardware and stuff. Is all the hardware there? You're going to go have to hunt for hardware. There are broken bolts, stripped out threads, all this kind of stuff can really make the project drag out, as opposed to buying one that's all complete that may have issues, you know, like a blown up motor or blown up transmission, something like that. It might actually take less time and be less frustrating to take on a project like that than one that's been taken apart and left out in the elements. So get this whole thread straightened out. And another thing is this shaft was really rusted, and the inside of that secondary clutch was really rusted, and I don't really want to go on there, so I got to fight with that. And the driver clutch was completely seized. It wouldn't move, so luckily I had another one to put on here. Otherwise, I'd be looking for a driver clutch. So, a lot of things to consider when you go buy a pile like this. So, when I buy stuff like this, I don't pay a lot of money. For example, I paid $100 for both of these two machines. I wouldn't have paid any more. I almost walked away a few times, you know, because just looking at it, and you know, he kept dropping the price and dropping the price. Finally, he named a price that I couldn't disagree with, so I went ahead and took it. But still, keep that in mind when you're buying stuff, that all the headache that could be involved with getting the machine running again. Now, if you're just buying parts, that's one thing, but if you're buying a machine to try to get running, especially if you're buying a machine to get running so you can sell it, you may have way more time, money, and energy invested in something than you would if you was to buy something that was maybe already running and just needed a little bit of fixing up. all these things need to be considered when you're doing stuff like this, when you're trying to flip ATVs. That goes for anything, cars, motorcycles. Don't pay a lot of money. You could get halfway into this and realize you're in over your head, and you know you got to abandon the project, and that's even worse because now you've wasted the time, you know, gas going and getting it. Lots of variables involved in something like this. Alright, that's fixed. So the transmission shaft was easy because all I do is take a wire wheel to it, but getting inside here into them splines too, I'm not sure where it's hanging up at. It'll go on almost all the way, but then it gets stuck. I don't want to force it on there and then not be able to get it back off. There's a tool that threads into here, kind of like the, you know, the driver clutch. I've never actually bought that tool because I've always had good luck with these and they just come right off. But maybe investing in that tool. One of these days I'm going to run into one of these that I can't remove without that special tool. If I knew what thread that was, I could probably make one. Guess I could figure out what thread that is. I've been working on this project for a couple days now. I'm running out of time because I got other things I got to do. So I'm trying to hurry here. Get this thing together. I'm real close. I'm so close to being able to take this thing for a ride. I keep having little things like this hold me up. I don't know how I'm going to clean them splines out in there. I took a wire brush in and out of there the best I could. I mean, they look pretty clean. Kind of hoping it's this smooth section here before you get to the splines that's holding me up. But I'm going to work at this for a little bit. Try to get this thing on there, because as soon as I get this on there, I can slap a belt on there and start slapping things together. Take this thing for a ride. Hopefully it's going to be okay. I think the transmission's good. So yeah, you never know what you're going to struggle with. So I did go ahead and take the time. I didn't buy it because, you know, I have a lathe. So I just went ahead and turned up a tool for that secondary driver. Yeah, so you can buy these, you know, pretty reasonable price, 20 bucks, something like that. So go ahead and get the both of these tools for these if you're going to work on these a lot. Ah, okay, that's all it was. Good. Now I'm going to put some grease on that shaft so that doesn't stick on there forever. So only thing I got left to do is I got to tighten up the bolt for that, wrap a belt on, slip that on, tighten that bolt up. And then it's just putting the body back together at that point, I think. Alright, so I looked down inside this gas tank to see if there's any debris in here, and the little straw that sticks up on this is detached from the petcock, so I got to pull this thing apart. Hopefully nothing goes wrong here. So there's the filter screen for the reserve side, and the one for the on side fell off and it's inside the tank, so I got to try to shake that out of there somehow, hopefully. I think it's too big to fit through the hole. I mean, not too big, but you know, too long. Whatever. You know what I mean. There it is. So I need to reattach that. It's not a very tight fit. See why it fell off of there now. Stretch it out a little bit, maybe. So in case you didn't know, this is how you get reserve. Go clean that up on the wire wheel and reinstall that, and I can put the gas tank on. Well, I'm sitting here working on this thing, trying to get this thing working again. Why didn't you guys tell me that the nipple was broke off of it? Oh my god. Now I gotta try to dig one of those out of my boxes. I don't even know if I have one of those. I know I got another tank, but I don't know about that. So stay tuned. Alright, so I looked everywhere. I don't have another petcock. So I could order one, but that's gonna take a week to 10 days to get here. Maybe even more, because you know how the mail is. They suck. So my solution here is to hopefully, I'm gonna drill this out, cut the tip of that off, jam that in there, and hopefully it don't leak. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna grab the dullest bit on earth. Oh my, let me go sharpen that. And with any luck, I can jam that in there. It may not leak. Maybe. It's in there pretty tight. Alright, I'm gonna call that a fix. Maybe not a permanent one, but for now, that's a fix. I'll get another one of these on order, more than likely. But for now, hey, if it works, is it really a bad idea? Alright, so I've made some more progress. It's kind of starting to look like a four-wheeler again. But it's late, it's getting dark. I'm tired, starting to get frustrated. It's time to call it a night. Start on this again tomorrow, so until then. Alright, so it's morning, and I gotta start my day off with running back to town for the, I don't know how manyth time, to get some more hardware. So let me do that, come back, and hopefully get a test ride in today. Let's do that. I'm gonna add some fuel to this and see if my petcock repair is gonna hold or not. Well, there's a leak, but I can't tell where it's coming from. So let me get my light up underneath here and see if I can pinpoint it. Looks like it's coming out of the petcock itself. Like, you know, the red is coming out of there. I had another one of these arms here, or whatever, lever, whatever. But the two-wheel drive version, the frames are a little smaller, and you can see how much is sticking out there. So I think that might be an issue there. Great, now I got a fuel leak to deal with. Okay, well, par for the course. Alright, while I'm waiting for that fuel to drain, I'm gonna get rid of these nasty, gooey old hand grips. 'Cause I'm just tired of touching them. Alright, so it's leaking from here. Not so much where I repaired it, but from right around there. And I'm going to try to attempt, this is sketchy, because I could destroy this and then no chance for a ride today, but I'm going to try to attempt to take this apart and repair it. Could break it. This is kind of nerve-wracking, to be honest. Aha! Got him. Alright, so there's O-rings in here. These guys right here. And they are rock hard. So, let's see if I can replace these. Don't worry, I got plenty to choose from here. Put a little bit of lube in here. Hold these in place. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm just doing what I can to try to make this thing run and drive. Alright, I apologize. My memory card got full and stopped recording in this process. But I got the O-rings in there and I got the petcock valve reinstalled. And I'm just getting ready to blow this grease out of here. And this is probably going to make a mess. But I need to be able to see what I'm doing. Because I got to orient this right to put the lever back on it. Be on, that should be off, that should be reserve. That's off. Alright, with any luck, this should be leak free, but I'm not holding my breath. Okay, reinstall this. I did have to shorten this because when I put it in the first time, it's sticking out so far that I couldn't get a wrench on that bolt, so I shortened this. Hopefully I didn't shorten it too much. Now it's going to be a little tricky to install. There, should be able to get a wrench on it now. Let's go see if it leaks. It probably will. Alright, let's try this again. I don't see any leaks. Turn it on reserve. I don't see any leaks. Is it actually flowing gas though? That's another question. Let me pop the line out the carburetor real quick here. Okay, I must not have enough gas for it to actually flow up and over the bow and the line. So let me put a little more gas in it. But I don't see any leaks. So that might be a win. You never know what you're going to struggle with sometimes. Yeah, she's going to be a ripper. Got to get the plastics back on. I got to figure out what's up with that, if I can fix that air box or not. I don't have an air filter yet. It won't be here for, you know, several days, but I can still probably take it for a little ride. You know, we'll get there. All right, so here's this air box. You can see the heat damage on here. I think this thing had a close encounter with the exhaust pipe. It's kind of strange that there's a nice square straight line right across there. There must have been some heat tape on this and it stopped right there. So that's unfortunate, but this is the only airbox I have. I looked on eBay, can't find one. So unobtainium, and if you do find it, probably pretty expensive. So I guess I gotta try to fix this. So plan A is I'm going to set this flat down on this piece of metal. And I'm going to heat that up and I'm going to try to reflow that plastic back into shape. If that doesn't work, plan B. More than likely, plan B. Now, I have a shop full of tools. And I have just about everything you can think of. But one thing I don't have is a heat gun. So, I'm going to have to use a torch. Now, this is probably not going to go well. It's probably going to burn the plastic. Wish I had a heat gun. I could go buy one, but oh my god, I've already went on so many trips trying to fix this four-wheeler. Let me just see what I can do with this. Probably gonna go to plan B anyway. Something tells me this isn't gonna work. Okay, plan B. I'll admit it doesn't look the greatest, but it's strong. It's not going to fall apart. It's sealed and should have a functional air box now. Alright, let's go install this on the quad. Digging around in my parts and I found one of these. And while I was out there digging around, I also found one of these. So I can install this on there and have a pull start. Nice. A lot of this hardware is not going to be accurate, but as long as it holds it together, right? That's all we really care about. Biggest thing for me, as long as the hardware is all the same size. You know, you get to working on something and this bolt's a 1/2 inch, this bolt's a 7/16, that bolt's a 9/16, this bolt's a 12 millimeter, that one's a 10, this one's a 9. That gets frustrating. So we're going to find a couple bolts to hold the back of the rack down and tighten all this up, and we're almost there. Alright, here it is, as complete as I can get it. It's a shame I'm missing that door. I might steal the gray door off of that rear set and put on there so at least it has a door. I know it'll be gray, but at least it'll have a door. I'm missing the cover there, missing the top of the shifter, and I'm also missing the rest of the air ducting that goes there. And that's pretty much it. Now, as far as issues left to resolve, that's a problem. So it's going to be losing coolant out of the radiator up here because that is not connected, nor is it going to hold any fluid. But I think I can take this thing for a test ride now, so let's do that. Finally. Alright, one more thing. I know. One more thing now, gotta do it. Ooh, the water is pouring out of this as I pump grease in there. Oh my God. Alright, here we go. Oh yeah, I fixed those bulbs in there, by the way, too. Probably should have showed you that, but oh my God, I got so much video that it's getting kind of ridiculous. Alright, here's high range, here we go. Well, it's doing the thing. Holding the camera with my left hand, and of course right there's the brake, so I'm having to use the foot brake. Oh, she's peppy. Uh-oh, I forgot to turn the fuel on. Alright, let's turn the gas on. See if she'll start back up, give it a second. Oh, I've been working on this thing for days and I am burnt out. Glad I'm getting a test ride in now because I don't know if I want to work on this another day. So, see if it'll start back up. Alright, good deal. Oh, don't want to run over my pumpkins. Yeah, the brakes are, they're there. There's plenty of pressure on them, but they're rusty, so they're not grabbing real good. Seems to run good. Hopefully there's no trees down back his trail. Oh, I'm gonna catch every spider web in the face. I did not check any of the lug nuts on the tires. Hopefully those are all tight. I'm not going to get too crazy because I don't have my helmet on for one, and two, I'm riding this with just one hand. Rear brake works good. See my little smoke cloud? Oil pump's working. Down there. I'll go back on the road, that way I can open it up a little bit. Pulled a wheelie. Yeah, she rips, buddy. The engine sounds good, transmission sounds good. Driveline sounds good. None of the wheels fall off. That's a plus. So I got that coolant issue to deal with. I don't know if I'm going to do that in this video, guys. This video is already so long. But basically, I'm just going to go get a juice bottle, you know, a little orange juice bottle, and I'm just going to bungee strap it to the frame, stick a hose in it, and call that done. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. And don't be afraid to fix it. Thanks for watching.